What's going on, guys? Today we've got a pretty green market. Oil stocks are pretty red. Health services stocks are pretty red. Other than that, we do have a mostly green day, or somewhat mixed. The Bitcoin miners are looking at a mostly green day despite what Bitcoin's doing today. And I think that's because we have a big day today, not just for Cleanspark, but for Bitcoin miners as a whole. Cleanspark, to my knowledge, is the first Bitcoin miner reporting earnings, but if I'm wrong, let me know down below who's reporting or who's already reported. Cleanspark should be the first today, reporting after the bell. And we might have a little bit of a anticipatory up move today because of it. You guys know how the miners work. If Bitcoin's up, the miners might be up. If Bitcoin's sideways or down, the miners are probably down. So today is a bit of a positive day considering. We do have some interesting news to talk about today. Trump's social media company takes steps to launch a Bitcoin ETF, multiple. They plan to launch 3 ETFs later this year under the Truth.fi brand. One of these such funds would go under the name Truth.fi Bitcoin Plus ETF. The other two would be Made in America ETF and Energy Independence ETF. And as said by the TMTG CEO and chairman David Nunes, he said, "We aim to give investors a means to invest in American energy, manufacturing, other firms that provide a competitive alternative to the woke funds and debanking problems that you find throughout the market. We're exploring a range of ways to differentiate our products, including strategies related to Bitcoin." Now, I don't see if it is or isn't going to be a spot Bitcoin ETF. I think if that was the plan, it would be mentioned. Maybe I missed it somewhere. But you know, we're dealing with a pro-crypto president. Positive or negative thoughts of Trump aside, this administration is definitely taking a positive stance towards Bitcoin, towards crypto. And Eric Balchunas said this about it: despite Trump's brand, these will likely be microscopic in asset gathering compared to, you know, the likes of IBIT, BlackRock's IBIT, Fidelity's FBTC, etc. But just the fact that they're launching this adds to the mainstreamification narrative, which matters. Now, whether we get a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the nation or not, that's completely up for debate. It's anybody's guess in the end. But things like this make it, in my opinion, more of a likelihood that at least the president will fight for something like this. But what do you think? Do you think this Bitcoin ETF news, does this mean we're going to get a more pro-crypto president, or we're going to get more regulation stifling growth? You tell me. Now, as most of you know, Cleanspark is reporting their earnings today. This is going to be after the bell. Keep an eye on their investor relations page. You can listen to the conference. It's definitely going to be worth listening to what the analysts have in terms of questions. Whether Cleanspark posts a profitable quarter or not is anybody's guess. No one but the execs likely know. I've showed you guys this before, but for those of you that aren't paying attention, this should be the first quarter since the halving where the Bitcoin miners actually show an improvement. Here's the halving with this little green X. Most Bitcoin miners were profitable before the halving. The halving came in, cut rewards in half. Not only that, but Bitcoin's price started declining after the halving. Not only that, but after that quarter, in Q3, Bitcoin started declining. Bitcoin went all the way down to 49,000 on Mt. Gox fears. This is when a lot of the Bitcoin miners as well bottomed out. Some went lower from this price, but some have maintained their price from around this point in Q3. To me, it's pretty clear that this is the first quarter since the halving where fundamentals improve rather than decline. And some of you might not know this, but during this quarter, the quarter before the halving, Cleanspark guided for a loss. They posted a surprise profit. That's when the price ran from $6 or $7 to like $25 in about a month. This is when the price ran for Iron, for BTBT, for a lot of the other Bitcoin miners we watch. They posted profitable quarters, and that gave them reason to run. In my opinion, we're reaching that point again. I think some might post a surprise profit for Q4. We'll see. And Q1 is setting up for a good quarter as well. So far in Q1, Bitcoin has been in the range of 90,000 to 108,000. We got through January. We just got the rest of February and March to get through before the quarter comes to an end. But so far, Q1 is already setting up for an even better quarter than Q4, which is an even better quarter than Q3. The quarter that's about to be reported is the first quarter that's going to show revenue growth again, not just year over year, but quarter over quarter for the first time since the halving cut rewards. I do expect this to be a good quarter with revenue beats, EPS beats. Do we get surprise profitability? It's anybody's guess. But if we do, you better believe that these Bitcoin miners are going to rally. This is what happened to them last time. But then the halving came in, cut rewards in half. This time we don't have another halving until next cycle. If we post a profitable, surprise profitable quarter here, we're very likely to post a profitable quarter here as well. If Bitcoin can keep its price, can head towards 150K by peak, we are going to see a few profitable quarters from these Bitcoin miners. They are, like I've been saying, going to outperform from Bitcoin's bottom to cycle top. These Bitcoin miners are going to outperform Bitcoin from cycle low to top, and some are still doing so. Iron specifically. By the end, I think Bitcoin can gain another 50%, maybe double if we're lucky. what is that going to give the Bitcoin miners? If they only gain 50% to double by the cycle top, I'd be very disappointed in them. Now, like I said, the Bitcoin miners in general are having a pretty good update today, a decent day at least, despite Bitcoin kind of going sideways if not down today. But you'll see that Cleanspark's up like 2.5%. We're still in this broadening pattern. I do think if we get a positive earnings, we're going to crush through the 50 MA. We're probably going to test the 200 MA in the 13s and this ascending resistance here. But right now we've been in this broadening pattern. On a good earnings, we can get a good pop. If we can sustain this pop, we will get a golden cross. And it'll be the first golden cross we saw since November of 2023. What happened there? A profitable quarter. In a quarter when they were expecting a loss, they posted a profit, a surprise profit. We got our golden cross on our first good earnings, and then the next earnings was another profitable quarter, and it continued to run. Cleanspark did roughly a 4x before cooling off before we started getting to those bad quarters again. Cleanspark had 2 profitable quarters. It ran from like the 4s to 25. We had that golden cross right around that profitable quarter. I think that is coming also this time around once we see a profitable quarter. The Bitcoin miners, when they made surprise profitability before the halving, something like Cleanspark, for instance, ran from the 4s all the way to 25. It did about a 4x. This was on profitability. Everyone was piling in. I do think this is where things start improving again. So congrats to those of you that bought during the fear. Congrats to those of you that bought while people were complaining. While people were saying Cleanspark is the worst stock ever. Despite from cycle low till here being about the same as Bitcoin in performance. While Bitcoin's near all-time highs, and Cleanspark is about 55% from highs. Cleanspark still has the same performance as Bitcoin from cycle low till top. Some Bitcoin miners are outperforming Bitcoin, some aren't. Cleanspark's neck and neck with Bitcoin. How does the cycle end? Do you really think if Bitcoin's going to go to 200K, Cleanspark's only going to 20? Long story short, this is a crucial point for the Bitcoin miners. In my opinion, this is where earnings start improving again. And in hindsight, those that bought during the fear, those that bought during the Mt. Gox fear, August, September, you guys are already green. Those that buy when it's in a pullback, those that buy when it's bottoming out at this trend line, in hindsight made great decisions. Those that bought when it's the hot stock, those that bought when it's overbought, those people think these Bitcoin miners are doing horrible. And while they're not doing as good as some of us hoped, I think if you follow the cycle from cycle low till top, we will see many of these Bitcoin miners outperform Bitcoin, the whole reason we're in them. But what say you? Do you think the rest of this year is going to be good to the Bitcoin miners? Are they going to underperform Bitcoin? Are we going to see some horrible earnings? Or is this the first quarter where we show signs of improvement? Q3 to Q4 for Bitcoin's price was a massive difference. Once earnings reflects how Bitcoin did in Q4, once earnings reflects how much more efficient these Bitcoin miners got, going from 20 joules per terahash, for instance, down to the 16, 17s, I think it'll paint the Bitcoin miners in a much different light. And it starts with Cleanspark's earnings today after the bell. But let me know how you guys are feeling about it. Do you think it's going to be a good or bad quarter? This is going to set the tone, at least initially, for the rest of the Bitcoin miners reporting. This will give us a good insight into what the other Bitcoin miners should expect. Are we going to beat top and bottom line? Are we going to miss? I think at the very minimum, we are going to beat revenue. We are going to beat EPS. Are we going to see profitability? Like I said, it's anybody's guess. The only ones that know that are likely the execs today. But thanks again for watching, guys. This is where the Bitcoin miners start turning around. And this time we don't have the halving looming over us next quarter to knock those rewards in half. They should end this cycle pretty strong. And like I said, if Bitcoin gives a 50 to a 2x, the Bitcoin miners will do much more than that, outperforming Bitcoin from cycle low till top. And I do think it starts with this earnings.